The room went silent the moment the words broke out of her, shaking and raw, echoing off the glass walls of the high-rise office as the sun dipped low over the city. "Please, don't hurt me. I can't walk." The most powerful woman in the building, the CEO everyone feared, sat in a wheelchair with tears streaming down her face, her hands trembling as if all the strength she had ever shown the world was draining away at once. That was the moment everything began to change. And before this story goes any further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet power of compassion, take a second right now to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, subscribe to the channel, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Your small action might inspire someone more than you realize. Her name was Eleanor Wright, a name that ruled boardrooms and headlines alike. For years, she had been known as ruthless, brilliant, and untouchable, a woman who climbed her way to the top of the corporate world without ever looking back. But no article ever mentioned the accident that shattered her spine one rainy night, or the endless surgeries, or the way she learned to smile in public while crying alone in private. The wheelchair became her shadow, a constant reminder of everything she had lost: freedom, dignity, and the simple joy of walking without pain. Inside her glass tower, people bowed to her power, but behind closed doors, Eleanor lived with fear. Fear of being seen as weak. Fear of being hurt again. Fear that the world would finally see her not as a CEO, but as a broken woman. On that evening, as the office lights dimmed and most employees had gone home, a confrontation unfolded that no one expected. A corporate decision had led to protests downstairs, angry voices rising from the street. Eleanor had insisted on staying late, determined to prove she was still in control. But control is fragile when the past comes knocking. Security rushed her into a private conference room, and that was where panic overtook her. Her breathing grew shallow, memories of hospitals and helplessness flooding back. In that moment, the CEO vanished, replaced by a frightened human being pleading not to be hurt, not physically, but emotionally. Not again. That was when he appeared, quiet, unassuming, kneeling in front of her wheelchair. His name was Daniel Harper, a single dad who worked maintenance in the building. To most people, he was invisible, the man who fixed lights and cleaned spills before anyone noticed. He wore simple clothes, his hands rough from years of labor, his eyes tired but kind. Few knew his story. Few knew that years earlier, he had lost his wife to illness and raised his young daughter alone while working 3 jobs just to survive. Fewer still knew that he once dreamed of being something more, until life forced him to choose responsibility over ambition. Daniel had been called in to check a faulty door lock, but what he found was a woman breaking apart. He saw past the designer suit, past the power, and recognized a pain he knew too well. He had spent nights holding his daughter when she cried from fear of losing him too, whispering promises he wasn't sure he could keep. So when Eleanor trembled and begged not to be hurt, something inside him shifted. He didn't see a CEO. He saw a wounded soul. Slowly, carefully, Daniel grounded himself in that moment, letting his presence speak louder than authority ever could. He revealed himself not as an employee, not as someone beneath her, but as a father who had survived loss, humiliation, and exhaustion. He shared how life had stripped him down to nothing and still demanded more. How he learned that strength isn't standing tall, but staying kind when you're on your knees. The walls Eleanor had built over decades began to crack. No one had ever spoken to her like this, not with fear, not with ambition, but with understanding. Days turned into weeks, and something unexpected happened. Eleanor began to notice Daniel around the building, always working, always moving forward despite carrying his own invisible weight. She started asking questions, listening instead of commanding. For the first time since her accident, she felt seen without being judged. She began physical therapy again, not because doctors ordered it, but because someone believed she could still move forward, even if the journey was slow and painful. As Eleanor healed emotionally, she looked at her company differently. Policies changed. People mattered. She learned how many single parents worked under impossible pressure, how many dreams were quietly sacrificed. Daniel's life changed too. Opportunities opened where there had only been walls. Not because of charity, but because someone finally recognized his worth. On the day Eleanor stood, just for a few seconds, supported, trembling, but standing, the office erupted in tears. It wasn't about walking again. It was about reclaiming hope. Daniel watched from the side, his eyes wet, knowing that sometimes the greatest transformations begin when two broken people meet at the lowest point and choose kindness. Just before this story ends, we'd really love to hear from you. Comment below and tell us what part of this story touched you the most, or share a moment when kindness changed your life. And as the camera fades on Eleanor looking out over the city, no longer afraid, and Daniel heading home to his daughter with a lighter heart. Remember this: power doesn't heal people, compassion does. If this story moved you, if it made you feel something deep inside, please like, comment, and share this video so it can reach someone who needs hope today. Sometimes, one story is enough to remind us all how human we really are.